So, as you all probably know now, Milo Yiannopoulos has pretty much ended his career at Breitbart, lost his book deal, and lost his CPAC speaking engagement. And this is done on, what, Thursday? This is probably going to come out on Monday. So, who knows what will happen between then and now. But let's talk about what essentially happened. So, over a year ago, Milo made what were, to be honest, quite, really, to be honest, dodgy comments. And I'm a listener of The Drunken Peasants. I remember that episode. Now, at the time, I thought that the comments that Milo had made were absolutely weird, but it wasn't surprising if you know the type of character Milo plays, because that's what Milo essentially is. He is a character, and his objective is to say as many batshit and crazy things as possible. And someone like that, they ratchet it up every time, because sooner or later, if you start saying one level of, like, you know, offensive things, sooner or later people get bored of you. So you have to ratchet it up constantly, and that's what he's been doing. And Milo has said tons and tons of genuinely batshit stuff, which we've discussed previously on this channel. And it's of no surprise that once again he comes out and says, oh, I'm in favour of free speech, and, you know, anyone should be allowed to say whatever they want, except when it's disagreeing with him, and then he becomes a victim, and it's just completely ridiculous. I mean, his apology he gave was, I'm sorry, but it was 100% completely disingenuous. And again, that was part of his whole Milo persona. He doesn't want to be seen as this guy who defended paedophilia. And I've watched that episode. I watched it originally. I've watched it since the whole whole thing came out, and I've sat back and looked at it and thought, yeah, to be honest, there can be a good case made that what Milo said there defended paedophilia. I'm sorry, but he did. And then you look at the recent Drunken Peasants where they discussed this, where they reveal that they wanted to have Milo back on. And Milo's stipulation was that he would come back on only if one of the hosts, Paul's ego, wasn't on the show. Why? Because Paul challenged him in that original debate on it, what the stuff he was saying. And this, again, feeds into his character. Milo loves to say as much, as I've said, batshit crazy stuff as he wants, and he loves to get away with it until he gets challenged. Because he literally just throws as many, bananas, oranges, whatever you have at the wall, and then it takes, literally almost a forensic scientist to try and find the grape. And that's essentially what has happened. Someone has found his grape of undoing. And will Milo go away? No, because he has a fan base that believe him and that will ultimately feed into his own narrative that he has been silenced and censored. Someone will pick up Milo's book deal. They'd be crazy not to, because ultimately all this stuff will eventually feed into the Milo mythos, as it probably should be called at this point. And that's essentially all it has done. It's just built to his mythos. And for those people that don't like Milo, then here's the easy question. Don't listen to him. All these protests, don't protest him. The protests you have done have only made him stronger and more popular. Because I don't know if you've seen in America, there's been this flip now, and you're losing people who are quite centrist. And it's quite worrying, because I hope it doesn't come to the UK anytime soon. But there you go. Yeah, and it's just completely insane. And then lots of people are going to say, oh, so I suppose you're right with the things George Takei and the other people who are left saying. They at the time were not in the same position as Milo. Let's face it. And you can't just go, well, this guy got away with it, and then this guy got hounded for it. That's going to happen all the time. And I'm sorry, that's the way it happens. Milo, cries on about freedom of speech all the time, but I'm sorry, there is such a thing as consequences to the things that he's said. And him losing his book deal, probably his job, and everything else that he has lost in the days since this came out is on his fault, no one else's. It's not even the fault of the people who brought this to light. Remember, this video has been around for a year. So, there you go. And this is, as I said before in this video, this is just another part of the Milo mythos.